Hello, my name is Mackenzie Smith, and this is my video reflection for the article that I read in Module 4. The article that I selected was the 6 self-care practices for school leaders. I chose this article because when I read it, it resonated with the current state of leadership and the most recent, major shift in leadership that I personally have experienced. I've been in administration in one form or another for now. This is my 8th year. And so a large portion of that has been the pandemic and the post-pandemic space. And this article specifically spoke about how post-COVID, a lot of leaders were leaving the profession. That was something that I witnessed. That was something that I was able to witness firsthand. I saw a lot of people who I came up through the leadership ranks with. I saw them retire. I saw them take jobs in consulting. I saw them just quit altogether. And I also saw a need in my personal life to change the way that I was doing business, the way that I was working, in order to better serve not only the schools that I was leading in, but also serve myself. And I don't think that was something that I thought about in conjunction with my profession prior to the pandemic. So that's kind of why this article resonated with me, just because I felt like it was a strong personal connection with something that I have not only experienced, but something that I continue to go through as a current leader. So the article talks about how a principal, would arrive to school really early, about 6 a.m. and would be the last one to leave, participating in all the different all the different activities that a school has, which then requires a lot of off work time, if you will, like not during the normal school day, participating in community meetings in the evening, participating in things like community events on the weekend, fundraisers, all of those things that a good principal wants to be a part of, to not only build the brand of the school, but to also establish and reaffirm your leadership style, and as someone who is not only accessible, but someone who is also in the work with you. I think those are the best kinds of leaders. That's the kind of leader that I strive to be. But that does cost. That comes at a cost. And that cost is oftentimes your personal health. That cost is oftentimes valuable time and memories being created with your family. That cost is sometimes your children's childhood. Sometimes we have children. I myself have 2 children. And we raise them sort of absently. We're building a career a lot of times, and we simply don't spend time with them. So I thought that this was a story that I could sort of link to. And so they talked about 6 different things in the article that would help. Talked about 6 specific self-care practices for school leaders. And what I enjoyed, and I'll explain more in detail here in a second, but what I enjoyed is, as I read, I realized that I am implementing a lot of these things. I would say that I am implementing in some shape, form, or fashion all 6. So before I read this article, I noticed the need for a change in my own life. And I did use, like many people, I did use the pandemic to sort of propel myself into that change. So the first practice for self-care that they talked about in the article was practicing mindfulness. And I think that's just a good practice all around. It helps with social emotional development personally. It also helps to regulate yourself, so you can be present in the moment, and you can know as a leader when it's time to detach and when it's time to attach yourself to the present moment and what's going on. Because a lot of times as leaders, we're brought problems, we're brought crises, we're brought emergencies that may not be something that we need to address right in that moment. It may be an emergency or a crisis for another person, but it may not actually be, in the grand scheme of things, an emergency or a crisis. So practicing mindfulness has sort of helped me see that particular thing in real time and be able to use that and apply that knowledge to my everyday leadership. The next strategy that it talked about, or the next practice that it talked about, was setting intentions. And this is something I believe wholeheartedly in. I believe we have to live on purpose. I believe we have to do things on purpose. So I meditate each morning. That's one of the ways I practice mindfulness, but that's also a time of my day where I set intentions for the day. I literally tell myself in sort of affirmation type ways what I want to happen today. Some days it's very broad. Some days it's making sure that I lead from the front. Some days it's things that are broad, like making sure that I remain present, making sure that I extend and I am generous and I am giving more than I expect to receive that day. So it's things like that, but it's also very specific things as well. The next practice strategy that they talked about was establishing daily healthy habits. And I think that I live a pretty healthy lifestyle, but I'm always looking for ways to not necessarily try to create new healthy habits just because of a book I read, Atomic Habits, but try to create more obstacles toward bad habits and try to create less obstacle toward things that are good for me. Next, talk about practicing gratitude. That's something that I'm very big on. I practice gratitude every day of my life. I am grateful for life itself. I am grateful for the opportunity to lead. And most importantly, I am grateful for the opportunity to lead children and to build the future that I want to live in. I have the unique responsibility of leading buildings and leading small pieces of the future that will be a part of the future that you and I live in. The last two are building self-regulation skills and investing in relationship building. And so I think those kind of coincide, because building those self-regulation skills is talking about the relationship that you have with yourself. So I am a disciplined person. I am a person who tries to be consistent and things of that nature, but I am very aware and reflective. And so I leverage that self-discipline a lot of times to be successful. And investing in relationship building, I think that's self-explanatory. We have, life is predicated on relationships. So investing in relationships is the best way for us as leaders to be successful. So that's my video reflection for Module 4 reading, six self-care practices for leaders. Thank you.